Greetings. My name is Trent Jones. I'm the Director of Media for the Springdale Public Schools, and I'm joined by Damon Donnell, the Director of Student Services. Mr. Donnell, thank you so much for making the time to be with us today. This Zoom purpose is to share with our community the resources that the school system is helping to provide and to connect the dots for some of our 23,000 students that we have in our district. Mr. Donnell, I know you want to talk about student services. Can you just kind of give us an overview? What is student services? Why is it important to our community?
Student services includes many things from music to all the way to dyslexia to 504, but the things I would like to talk about today that really has an impact on kind of the current situation that we're going through would be the social worker piece, counselor piece, the nursing division, and also the community school-based health centers.
Okay. Okay, good. And so as everyone can see, we have a slideshow up here. So what we're going to do for everyone is Mr. Donnell's going to advance through these slides. And as we go, we're just going to talk about each one. What are they? How do they work? How do you get connected? So please, sir, at your tempo, go ahead.
So I'd like to just kind of give a broad overview, just in case those in our community aren't aware that the district does have 11 district social workers working at 21 different schools. We also have a FIT liaison, which is families in transition or families experiencing homelessness, and that social worker is just designated just for that purpose. And also we have 53 district counselors serving 31 schools, 37 nurses serving 31 schools, and then also 4 clinics at elementary schools serving the community.
Excellent. And as you get ready to talk about the vision and mission, just so our audience knows, through the rest of this, we're going to go down deeper into what each one of those are and how you can access each one.
Correct. So this was something that I'm very proud of, that last year the social workers developed revised their vision and mission, and that everything that we do filters through both of these, the vision and the mission. So everything that they do, they try to connect with families. They try to connect, advocate, resolve, and then ultimately, the ultimate goal is to empower that family to do things on their own. And then our mission is to provide services to students, families, and district staff to support and promote each student's academic and social success. Within that, social workers have 3 pillars, and these seem very simple, but they're enormously important, especially the first one. The listening piece is we connect with families by listening with the intent to understand rather than the intent to reply or to cast judgment. So really, we've all been there, including myself. We've all been there where we've not had enough money to purchase food. We've all been there when we've not had enough money to pay the rent or the utility bills or buy school clothes for kids or school supplies or whatever it may be. We have all been there in some form or fashion. And so what our social workers are tasked with is to listen to families and then to do a thorough assessment of the family's needs, as well as all the available resources that they have at their disposal, and then advocate for their needs. And then they're there to support the families to resolve and empower them to resolve their own issues in the future. I'm pretty proud this year that we truly have the best social workers in the state of Arkansas. A lot of social workers from other districts reach out to our social workers every day about just the services they provide. But they served over 11,000 students in last year, 1920, and they provided a list of resources to each family that they served, and those resources included community resources, which could include food banks, homeless shelters, job trainings, etc., mental health facilities, food, clothing, bedding, utilities, rent assistance. We've had fantastic community partners that have donated beds, have donated clothing, food, have help pay for utilities and rent assistance. And then immigration services is one that we don't really speak a lot about, but it's a very important one. Stephen Koger is a really fantastic partner with us, and he's provided great leadership on immigration services that's free to our community. And then crisis intervention, social skills, emotional supports, behavioral supports, and then also transportation for mental health and medical appointments. And then McKinneyVento services, which could include anything from transportation all the way to services in schools, which if it's tutoring or band supplies or athletic supplies or whatever that may be. And then also attendance and fin support.
So Damon, while we're on this slide, are these are services that our social workers provide?
Correct. They're reaching, in some instances, they're direct services. In some instances, they're also resources that they provide for services to be provided.
And is it year round? I mean, is this like right now during the summer, during this coronavirus, when we probably need these services, are they available?
So that's a great question. The services are available in the summer. It's just at a greatly reduced rate because we only have one social worker who's actually, and I shouldn't even say social worker. We have one individual who's serving the needs of kind of filling in the summer needs.
Okay.
And, but yes, to answer your question, these services are available all year long before school starts. And after school ends, they're available all year long.
And so that's great. So coming up in August, whenever we're starting to get closer to school, and you and I both know there'll be a lot more anxiety there's just a lot of uncertainty right now in our community. I really think looking at these services, we're connecting a lot of dots here for people through the school system.
We are making a difference with students and families, and that for me makes the difference for students to be successful ultimately in school. And if you remember, we said that our mission was to provide services to students, families, and staff to support a student's academic and social well-being. Well, all of these support that academic piece and social well-being of every
student. Sure. No, and you're exactly right. I mean, this is really simple. I know you're going to talk about McKinneyVento next, but this is a really simple point. If you're hungry, it's hard to learn. If you're worried about where you're going to sleep, it's hard to learn. If you're worried about all these different things, it's hard to elevate in your socioeconomic status. So in other words, kind of what you're doing is you're helping to tie together the fabric of our community, so to speak.
Correct.
Yeah.
I will tell you also, every one of our social workers are highly trained with all the McKinneyVento rules and regs. Okay. We have a McKinneyVento grant that supports our liaison. And it also, I really wanted to say, we take great pride in assisting families who are experiencing homelessness, because I'm just going to say this, I've never been homeless, so I can't truly relate to it, but I know that I've visited with many families who are, and they're at their most vulnerable and they're at their lowest point, and it's where they really need support at that time, and our staff does just a fabulous job with that.
You're right. Our superintendent, Dr. Cleveland, says that the school is the heartbeat of the community.
Correct.
And I just think, as you're going through this, it shows us that there was a big line in there that I think everybody needs to peel away from this. No judgment. There is no judgment. We're here. We want you to be successful. That is why we have these services.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I just put some graphs on here to show you kind of what services that they provided this past year and into the summer. This includes summer services. So food assistance by far is our largest service, followed by clothing, followed by utility assistance, housing assistance, and then bedding. We have some great partners in Springdale, furniture stores that have provided mattresses, provided beds for our families, and then hygiene assistance, which is just, their everyday household items that kids need. Because again, if you come to school and you don't smell the best, or that kind of thing, then that can become an obstacle to learning.
No doubt.
Something else, I tried to star some little things throughout this presentation that I'm really proud that our district has allowed us to do, and I want to just compliment Dr. Cleveland and Mr. Kelly Hayes for allowing this to happen. But when COVID hit, we were in a dilemma that families still needed groceries, but we didn't want to put our staff at risk for delivering groceries to the families, okay? So what they've allowed us to do is, through the generous donations of community partners, they've allowed us to build up a fund to where when we find that families need food assistance, we're able to make a shift from delivering groceries to having groceries delivered through various vendors, whether it's Harps or Walmart or whatever it may be. We're able to do that.
That's great.
This is some more pieces. This is mostly pieces that are delivered during the school day. So you can see that they provide the most of the work that they've done with families is providing them resources. There are 5,100 instances where they've provided families resources where they could move forward and move to the next phase in that whatever crisis they were facing. And then emotional supports, crisis interventions. You can see court appearances, attendance supports, home visits, staff collaboration, hotline reports, and then SEL groups, which is just social emotional groups. So that's a really big one also, to where you might find students who have deficits in certain social emotional learning, then they help fill in those gaps so that those students can then also be successful in school, whether it be behavioral gaps or, just, social gaps. I'm sorry. And then again, I mentioned this earlier, we have some absolutely fantastic community partners, and through their generous support, they've allowed really virtually thousands of students and families to be served this past year. And that's something I'm super proud of.
I think the number that you mentioned earlier, about 11,000 families served, and that's nearly half of our
Correct.
That's nearly half of our student population. That's really honorable work. That's very good.
This is something, this emergency paid leave that's provided through the CARES. I'll just read this to you so that we're very clear on this. Okay. It says effective, I have to move the other screen out of the way. It says effective for requests made on or after April 1st, 2020 through December 31st. So this runs all the way through December 31st, 2020. The Families First Coronavirus Response Act, enacted on March 18th, 2020, provides employees with access to emergency paid leave. It's called EPSL for certain leave requests related to COVID-19 pandemic. So let me give you an example of this. I have been, this summer, I've had multiple families reach out to me who are just on their last resource. Mm-hmm. And when I've explained this to them, they really had no knowledge that they had access to these emergency COVID sick leave. And so this is really something I'd like to get out into the community. And I'm going to go ahead and read the rest of it. It says full-time employees are eligible for up to 80 hours of emergency paid response leave, sick leave. And part-time employees are eligible for an equal amount to the number of hours the employee works on average over a 2-week period. So this is a really big deal. I have a link here that's to the U.S. Actually, you can just Google it, U.S. Department of Labor, and it's the first thing that pops up. And then lastly, there's a link here to any quarantine family that needs food delivery. You can click on that link right there and it will take you right to a site to where you can get food deliveries. And these will all also be on the website within the next couple of weeks.
Oh, good. That was my next question.
Yes, where you can access all of this just directly on the student services.
That's what I was going to say. You're right. So, because I know we're getting ready to, this is the end of the social worker section. If somebody needs or wants to engage one of our social workers, what is the way that they do that?
They can call their school,
okay,
and then their school can put them in contact with their social worker, or they can go to our website and go to whatever school that they attend, click on meet our staff, and just find the social worker on there and email them directly. Either way, whichever way they feel more comfortable with is how they can contact you.
Call the school,
mm-hmm.
Or they can email the social worker. and then you're going to launch a student services webpage as well?
Correct.
And
And
then,
it'll have a direct link for their email to where they can just click on the email and it'll create an email for them.
and then for this emergency paid sick leave, they can Google the Department of Labor and find that link for the emergency paid sick leave.
Correct.
And if I'm understanding this correctly, is the emergency paid sick leave, that's money, right? They're saying like
Right.
if you were absent from work and you qualify for this, you can receive funding up to a certain amount.
Correct. Up to 80 hours. Yes, if you're a full-time employee.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Okay, so good on social workers. I get it. I understand what they do and how they work and how to access them. So is there anything else we want to talk about on social workers before we move on to counselors?
Yes, social workers will be back at work next
good.
Thursday.
And
So
what's
they
the
will
date?
be next Thursday. That is the 20, oh, you would have to ask me the date.
That's
It
okay.
is the
I got it.
23rd, Thursday, the 23rd.
So July 23rd,
Uh-huh,
social workers will be back.
correct.
And you can access them by calling the school, by going to the school's email, or going to the student services webpage.
Correct.
Got it. Okay, good. Got it. All right. Thank you, Mr. Donnell, for the social workers portion. Let's transition over to the counselors portion. What do our counselors do? I know that you said a minute ago that our counselors are in all 31 buildings. And I know, just on a total side note, when I was in school, I had some wonderful counselors. I'm assuming that's what you're talking about.
Right.
I had some counselors that were really wonderful for me in helping me with social and emotional, helping me with vision of my future, with identifying who I am, and how we're changing academically, intellectually, emotionally. So kind of talk a little bit about what are our counselors?
So the counselors in Springdale are amazing. I mean, they wear so many hats. Sometimes I don't understand how they get everything done that they get done. They are just like superhuman beings. I'm going to read through their vision and mission because I really believe it's super important. And it says the Springdale School District counselors will ensure all students are prepared academically, intellectually, and emotionally with the knowledge and skills essential for lifelong learning in an ever-changing society. That's a lot. But then they go on with their mission. Springdale school counselors will facilitate in the academic, career, and personal social development of all students to help maximize their potential as productive human beings and prepare them to function effectively in an ever-changing society. So as you go through this, the one word that always comes to mind when I think of a school counselor is that relationship piece. Counselors, our district counselors pride themselves with the relationships they're able to build with students, parents, teachers, and community. That's just the biggest star I could probably give them is just that relationship piece.
Sure.
And really this graphic describes that better than I can really put it into words. It's, you know, when Dr. Rollins was here and now Dr. Cleveland has carried on that torch, it's all about relationships, 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 relationships. So I would just say that they are masters of just the student-to-student relationships, student-to-parent relationships, student-to-teacher relationships, and student-to-community relationships. They kind of tie all that together between the home, school, and community and really allow that student to have an ultimate success. Some parts of their job that they help bridge the gap with are students, you know, we've talked about this a lot in counselors meetings, but students, we all know this, students thrive when they are safe and protected, when family and community connections are stable and nurturing, and when their basic needs are met. You know, we know that COVID has disrupted all of that, okay? It's in probably every aspect of a student's life, their health, their development, learning, behavior, their families, economic security, and their protection from violence and abuse. Because we know just from listening to the news that across the nation that, you know, just domestic violence and then also child abuse has gone up dramatically across the nation. So counselors are going to have another piece that they're going to have to address when students come back to school. And some of that's a direct reflection of what has happened with COVID. we have to think about, what it's like to be socially isolated for several months. And then we have to think about those students who are already experiencing anxiety and now are going to have that amped up. I think you mentioned that earlier. That's going to be really amped up. And we have to remember, I have to remind myself of this a lot, even when I was teaching school, that I, as an adult, have the ability as a 40-year-old, when I was 10 years ago, to deal with all of those feelings. But we have to remember, kids don't have those skill sets yet. Some kids do not have that. And so counselors will be addressing that. They'll also be addressing, we have families that were just on the edge before COVID hit, and with the tightest finances, and now they're facing job losses and food insecurity and housing instability and fractured relationships. We have to remember that those students are going to be our biggest challenges, and we have to figure out ways that we can support our counselors and really let them do their very best work. And then this one really hit me at home when I've been reading the paper, well, the online paper, about just deaths in our community. And we cannot forget the impact that a death has on a family, and that a lot of our kids will be returning back to school experiencing grief. And that's a big deal. And our counselors deal with all of these things, plus all the other things that they do at the school. I think if I had to put it into 3 pillars, okay, I'd probably put it into these 3 pillars: the student skills, crisis interventions, and the mental health supports. So counselors are continually giving students the skills that they need to become their own problem solvers, so that at the end of the day, they can solve their own problems, much like the social workers are doing with families and resources. Yeah. So, whether it's interpersonal skills, the social skills, or academic skills, they're trying to really support those things. And then crisis intervention. This is a big one that is often neglected, and I have to remind myself of this constantly. And I'm 48 years old, and I have to really think about this one, which is they provide support to students and families during crisis situations. And that includes student and staff self-care. So what we can't forget about is that we can't forget about all that self-care that comes along with, we can all kind of get in that groove of just overworking and not taking care of ourselves, and even stressing about stuff too much and not taking care of ourselves. And if we're not taking care of ourselves, we certainly cannot take care of others.
Sure, absolutely.
And then in mental health supports, and I just listed 4 here, but there's a list of, probably a mile long on this, where they support students through Ozark Guidance and Youth Bridge and Vantage Point, and also family counseling. I'm not sure our community is aware of this, but we invite Ozark Guidance and Youth Bridge into our schools to provide services to our students, so that our students, to be less of a burden on our families, so our families don't have to come and then pick up a student, miss academic time, and then take them to a counseling session. They can just access that at school.
I think that's a common theme too, that I hope really sticks through this presentation of the great work that you do and that you lead, is we're very aware of being efficient, right? Correct. So you'll find that when we talk about the nurses, when we talk about the wellness centers, when you talk about social workers, there's no judgment. We're here to care. We have connection to resources. We have some of the most loving and caring people in each one of those positions, particularly with counselors. I believe that I find that they work very hard to make it a welcoming place.
Absolutely.
So that if a student comes there and they may be afraid of their living situation, they may be worried, on whatever their situation may be. Maybe they're just looking for scholarships. Whatever their situation may be, I find that the counseling center is a place that you can walk into and feel very comfortable, very welcome. It's very cool. It's very hip, if we can say the word hip anymore. But you can go in there and you can be honest. You can be honest, you're safe. It's okay for you to be here. At the end of the day, I think the message that needs to perpetuate through this whole thing is there is only we. There is not a us and a them. There is only we. And these kids are the future of our community. They are the future of our state and of our nation. And we are the ones who have built in a system to try to help them understand that they're valuable to us. And the better that they are, the better we are.
Correct.
That's kind of what I hear when you talk about this. Let me ask you this.
I would add this to what you just said too, is, you know, this common theme I'm trying to drive home with all of these four groups, that, you know, these four groups are really addressing a lot of the same issues.
Right, sure.
And I really consider all four groups as a team. And I've said this before to them, that to get team, meaning together, everyone achieves more. And really, that's what I try to do when I'm supporting these four different groups, is to really bring them together to where they can see how they can accomplish so much more together than they can just as a counseling group or a social worker group or a nursing group or the community school, a school-based health group.
No doubt. So before we do nurses, how would someone engage the counselors?
So it's similar to what they would do on the social workers. They would just either call their school.
Okay.
And all of those phone numbers are on our school website. Okay. And then I believe it's just sdel.org, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Right. Yes, sir.
And then once they go to that site, they can simply click on the button that says schools, and then all of the list of schools will come up. Then they click on their specific school, and then that will say parents. They would click on the parent button. It'll say meet our staff, and then all the staff are listed there. So they can either call the school that way, or they can click on that staff member's email address and email them directly.
That's
Both
great.
ways will also be linked into the student services page.
Okay, excellent. Okay, good. Very good, Mr. Donnell. Let's talk about nurses. Nurses are some of my favorite. I grew up next door to one of the most famous nurses in Springdale, Barbara Ludwig. So I'm very close with them. I've had many nurses, you know, help me out, and they're good people. They really help our young people. And frankly, everyone really, they really help our young people have a good, clean, safe environment. Please talk about our Springdale Schools nurses.
Well, you can't say Springdale School nurses without saying how great Kathy Launder is.
Kathy
So
Launder
is our director of nursing and nurses, and she is amazing. I mean, she is on the forefront of everything COVID. She's on the forefront of everything flu. She's on the forefront of everything. So she's just amazing. If you don't know her, you need to reach out and get to know her. The nursing mission is to provide the very best care for every student, thereby promoting each student's health and academic success. This is something, before I was in this seat, I had really no idea the scope that the school nursing department, the services they provide. And I'm going to go through these because I want to really make sure that everybody understands that these are kid numbers, okay? So vision screenings, over 12,000 vision screenings last year. Hearing screenings, nearly 12,000 hearing screenings last year. Scoliosis screenings, 2,000 of those. And these are just the screenings. I mean, these aren't direct services. These are just screenings that they're doing. Eyeglasses. Now, I want everybody to know that I'm a negative 4.75 on my contacts, okay? If I don't have them in, I could not see what was on the screen. 583 students received eyeglasses. Kids that could not function probably in the school setting, academic setting,
Sure.
and received glasses through the nursing department. That's amazing to me. Flu vaccines, almost 7,000 flu vaccines. And dental services. Okay, now let me just tell you, there's two pains that I don't deal with very well: back pain and toothache pain. Not my things. So I will just tell you this: 2,000 students received dental services, whether it be fillings, root canals, whatever it was, dental services. I mean, think about that. If you're sitting in a class and you're trying to learn and you have a toothache that's hurting, throbbing so bad that you can't even focus, that's a big deal that nurses provide to our families and students. So these numbers here represent just a small fraction of the things that they do, but I thought I would put these out for the community to see, just so that they could see what really great things they're doing for students and families.
Okay, good.
This next piece is just services they provide to staff. The Heart-Saver training, over 900 staff served. Stop the Bleed, all staff trained. CPR, There's many staff trained in CPR, and really that's by request. And then also just emergency training, all types of emergency training, 911 calls, all of that is done through the nursing department also. Which brings us to our school-based health clinics, which is led by, and again, the fabulous Mary Miller and also Sarah Jones. They are absolutely fantastic. If you do not know them, I would highly recommend that you reach out to them because they are wonderful, just fantastic opportunities for our families. And that school-based health clinic is one community healthy together. And I'm excited to tell you about this because I should have put 5 stars right here.
Yeah,
it is the best kept secret in Springdale. And I really mean that. I'm not sure that our community knows about this. The Springdale School District has 4 school-based health clinics located at George, Jones, Elmdale, and Parson Hills. Our school-based health clinics are staffed by a community clinic with an advanced practice nurse, registered nurse. It's an APRN, and medical assistants who provide quality care for our students, families, staff, and community. Some of the services they provide include primary care, non-emergency care visits, care for illness and injury, basic lab tests, like you can get a strep test there, a flu test, blood test, wellness checks, sports physicals, comprehensive annual exams, immunizations for children who have ARKIDs or who are uninsured, follow-up visits and referrals to specialty providers. And then, so for example, if you need an orthopedic referral, you could go to the community clinic first and they could give you an orthopedic referral. Transportation is available by Springdale Public Schools for all students and their parents and guardians to the school-based health clinics. And so these numbers are pretty astounding to me. In 1920, the school-based health clinics had 14,330 patients enrolled, okay? 9,150 were children.
Wow.
That's a third of our student population, over a third, and 3,400 medical appointments. Those are just staggering numbers to me. And then also, all students, staff, community members are welcome in the school-based health clinic. They're not going to turn anybody away. Right. So everybody is welcome in those clinics. In addition, they provide a lot of other services, referrals for every other service like pediatrics, prenatal care, dental, integrated behavioral health, physical therapy, case management, diabetic self-management training, nutrition counseling, that's a big one, and then also medication-assisted treatment. So they can provide all of these referrals for our families and community that come in for those referrals. Here's the big piece though. Who can use the health clinics?
This is the big piece right here.
Say anyone for me, Trent.
Anyone.
Anyone can come to those health clinics.
That's right. Students
are always the priority. And I want to say that again, students are always the priority. It says, some of you may have a question out there about, well, what about health insurance and payment options? It says Medicaid, Medicare, and most private insurance are accepted and will file with your insurance. However, a copay may be requested. A sliding scale fee discount is available for patients who qualify based on income. Right. And this is the kicker right here. No child will be turned away because a family cannot pay. I'm going to say that again. No child will be turned away because a family cannot pay.
And connect that dot to this right here about no child will be turned away because a family cannot pay. Plus, Springdale Schools can provide transportation during the school day.
Correct.
For the child to get from the classroom to the wellness centers connected at our 4 schools. Therefore, a parent does not have to miss work. And that's really important for our community to understand. Go back to what we said, a little while ago. If we really are the heartbeat of the community, which we are, then look at how we're trying to help connect the dots. We hope people are, through this presentation, connecting that dot that, you're not alone. We're your partner. We're your partner. Okay.
Correct.
Go ahead, sir.
So this is the last slide that I have, and just coming soon, we'll have a student services website with all of that plus information so that parents can access it. Now, I put a date on here of August 24th. I really believe I'll be done in the next 2 weeks, but I just put that on there just to, you know, not over promise and then under deliver, but then, you know, make a promise of August 24th and then over deliver. So that's all I have to share, other than I am very privileged, to work in Springdale.
Yeah.
And the people that I work with, whether it's the social workers, whether it's counselors, whether it's nurses, whether it's the school-based health clinics, they are fantastic staff, fantastic individuals that care about kids, families, staff, and community, and want to be there to serve you.
And I think that's great. And I'm very thankful for the time that you've spent talking with us. Couple things for our community. Remember, you heard 3 primary things. You can always call your school to get one of these services. You can go to sdale.org and go to your school and reach out to them through the web. And then very soon, we're going to be launching on all of our social media platforms the Student Services webpage. You're also always welcome to call our central administration staff.
Absolutely.
But I think really what we want to help everyone know, particularly in these times of uncertainty, we can help you ease some of your anxiety. We want to help. We have resources. We have people. We have systems in place. And if you come to us with a question that we may not know the answer to, or we might not know the service per se, we'll find it. The school system is the heartbeat of the community, and the community is our primary function is helping to educate. So Mr. Donnell, thank you so much for your time today. And we will help you share the message of where your webpage is. And thank you everyone for watching, and best wishes. And we can't wait to have every single one of our students back in school in August. Thank you. Remember, Springdale Schools is the choice. Thank you.